You're watching KOAT Action 7 News live at 10. Honored as the state's best evening newscast by the New Mexico Broadcasters Association.
A lesbian couple becomes the first same-sex couple to get a marriage license in Bernalillo County. Karen Schmiggy and her partner Pat Catlett were the first in line at the clerk's office early this morning. They've been together for more than 20 years and say they hope these licenses in Bernalillo County become the first step in further progress of gay and lesbian couples across the state.
We're ecstatic. We keep chipping away at our legal rights, and the next one is the federal government. Very important for our Social Security.
The couple plans to get married at their church next Sunday in Nob Hill.
And while many gay couples tied the knot at the clerk's office and in Civic Plaza today, some like that couple plan on doing it at a church.
Action 7 News reporter Erin Hilf spoke to an Albuquerque pastor who says she welcomes same-sex couples and is excited to perform the ceremonies.
A big day for the more than 100 in Albuquerque. Erin Hilf, KOAT Action 7 News.
We tried to reach out to the local Catholic diocese and other more conservative churches to get their take on the ruling, but we didn't hear back.
In southern New Mexico, another big decision. The Doñana County Commission today passed a resolution supporting marriage equality. Action 7 News anchor Royal Day continues our team coverage.
A resolution supporting one clerk took days earlier. Royal Day, KOAT Action 7 News.
The marriage equality resolution passed 4-1. Commissioner Rouson was the only no vote. And on KOAT.com, we have a state-by-state look at gay marriage from the states that allow it to the history behind the gay marriage debate. We've got you covered. Just look in the feature section of our homepage. Count on Action 7 News for your complete coverage of the gay marriage debate. And when we're not on air, you can always go to KOAT.com.
The former APD sergeant accused of running a red light and killing a 21-year-old will head to trial in February. Adam Casals is accused of running a red light back in May, crashing into Ashley and Lindsay Browder's vehicle, killing Ashley. Casals was charged with vehicular homicide and great bodily injury. He was fired from the department a few days after the crash. Two New Mexico State Police sergeants go above and beyond the call of duty when they came across a multiple vehicle crash in the California desert. The two were returning from a training when a large dust storm swept across I-40, causing the crash. The sergeants jumped into action and performed CPR on two people on scene, but unfortunately, they passed away. The Paseo I-25 interchange project is one step closer to reality. A groundbreaking ceremony is set for next Thursday at 2 p.m. at the southwest corner of Jefferson and Paseo del Norte. The governor and mayor will be on hand to kick off the long-awaited project. They say it will improve safety, reduce travel time, and create thousands of jobs.
It's been exactly 1 week since Rio Rancho's special election. Residents voted down a measure to reduce the gross receipts tax from 1/4% to 1/8%. The education funds would have been redirected to public safety, but Mayor Tom Swistak says increasing public safety funding is still important, and there is a study being done right now addressing it.
So that we actually know what the level of public safety that we need. How many police officers, how many paramedics, how many firefighters.
The hope is to get everyone on the same page, but about why an increase for public safety funding is so important. The study should be done by the end of the year.
Rumors about Apple's next big event, reportedly on September 10th, have been swirling for weeks now. The company is planning to launch a trade-in program that would allow users to swap their old iPhones for new ones. Details in this Project Economy report. Apple Mania is back. The company program does get off the ground. It could be a boon for Apple.
Your credit rating and Facebook, the possible connection is hot on the web. It seems some tech startups are using social data when it comes to lending or borrowing money, and some financial institutions look at your social connections like Facebook friends to decide if they should loan you money. If that friend doesn't pay his or her bills on time, it could affect your ability to get a loan, but if they do, it could also help you, and boy, they have a lot of time on their hands. Meet Eddie Castillo, a member of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Yep, that is a real church with millions of online followers. Hard to tell in that picture, but Eddie wanted to make a statement about his faith. There it is. He took an ID picture with a pasta strainer on his head. It seems the Texas DMV was fighting Castillo for months for him to take a normal picture, but finally gave in and let him wear the strainer on his head.
Bizarre. The UNM football team kicks off the regular season on Saturday against the University of Texas San Antonio. The Lobos are coming off a 4-9 season that ended with a 6-game losing streak. More than half of its scholarship players are entering their first or second year with the program. All concerns heading into the second season under head coach Bob Davie.
Will we be inexperienced? Will things happen out there that shouldn't happen? Sure. But that's part of building this thing in the grand scheme of things, in the big picture of things. So I'm anxious, just like you guys are, to see what we are.
The first 2,500 fans at the game will receive a Bob Davie bobblehead. There will also be post-game fireworks. Kickoff is at 6 p.m.
Where's our Joe Diaz bubble?
No kidding. We would sell out so quickly.
Oh, I bet you yours would do pretty well as well. That'd be in a team package is what I'm thinking. Well, here are some photos from NASA of the enormous wildfire in Yosemite National Park.
You're watching KOAT Action 7 News live at 10.
U.S. warships are in position and missiles are primed to be launched at any minute. All that's needed is an order to attack Syria for waging chemical warfare on its own people. ABC's Tamon Bradley is in Washington, D.C. with the latest developments.
Making the case for a military strike in Syria, the Obama administration.
Tamon Bradley, ABC News, Washington.
It's not clear what Assad will do if attacked. Syria has missiles which could reach Israel, but the Israeli prime minister says his country is ready. The Secretary of Homeland Security says goodbye. Today marks Janet Napolitano's last day. She's leaving the job to become the president of University of California System. And during her speech, she talked about what she's learned.
In a world of evolving threats, the key to our success is the ability to be flexible and agile and adapt to changing circumstances on the ground, whether that's across the globe or here at home.
Napolitano graduated from Sandia High School.
The Fort Hood gunman has rested his case during the penalty phase of his trial without calling any witnesses or testifying. Jurors will decide whether to sentence Major Tadel Hassan to death. He was convicted last week for the November 2009 shooting where 13 people died and 30 people were hurt. Hassan tried to justify the attack as a way to protect Islamic leaders from U.S. forces in Afghanistan and Iraq. Closing arguments are set for tomorrow. 8 months after the tragedy in Newtown, students from Sandy Hook Elementary began a new school year today. Classes are now being held at a different school in nearby Monroe. There's extra security there, including armed guards. One parent who lost his child in the shooting says it was a hard day for him and his wife as his 2 older kids returned to school.
We just had to get out of the house, so we thought we'd go for a walk, and then we didn't want to be in our neighborhood, so we went somewhere else. In the drive there, we saw lots of first graders and kindergartners assembling for their bus, and it was extremely difficult.
The old Sandy Hook building is being torn down. A new school is not expected to be ready, though, until 2016. George Zimmerman is making headlines again. The man found not guilty for shooting Trayvon Martin wants the state that put him on trial to pay his legal bills.
It's no small amount, and Florida may have to cover most of it. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman.
We, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
Gutman, ABC News, Miami.
California's governor is asking state lawmakers for a $315 million prison fix. Jerry Brown wants to spend the money on leasing cells in private prisons and jails as an alternative to releasing thousands of inmates in order to comply with a federal court order. The state is facing a year-end deadline to reduce overcrowding, but Brown says he wants to avoid a mass release of inmates.
On the fire alert, crews are making progress on the massive rim fire in Yosemite. Thanks to the work of nearly 4,000 firefighters, it is now 20% contained, but flames are still threatening 4,500 structures, and it's forced schools to stay closed. The rim fire has cost the state more than $20 million to fight and is now among the top 10 largest fires in the state's history. A different concern tonight across the Midwest, extreme heat.
There are a number of heat warnings and advisories that have been issued with temperatures nearing 100 degrees. Schools in Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and several others let kids out early because of the sweltering temperatures, while officials and teachers in other schools are worried about packing their kids in un-air-conditioned classrooms.
Dangerous because the kids get really exhausted, and even though we let them get a lot of drinks, they're still sweating. I mean, I had kids last week just drenched in sweat.
In Minnesota, one of the first lessons on the first day of school was how to beat the heat. Now here's Chief Meteorologist Joe Diaz with tonight's first alert video.
Another dust storm and thunderstorm blew through the Phoenix metropolitan area. Winds from an approaching storm system around sundown yesterday pushed a hazy brown cloud over most of the Phoenix area. There were reports of some downed power lines and trees in Tempe, but no reports of any injuries. At the same time, there were periods of heavy rain just to the west of Phoenix. Farmers in Minnesota can't seem to catch a break this year. In the spring, there was too much rain. Now there's too little, and many crops are now at a critical clinical stage, and it may already be too late for some of them. Fortunately, the area looks to be getting some moisture over the next couple of weeks.
The 11-year-old girl who made national headlines for her fight for a new pair of lungs finally home. Sarah Murnahan was surrounded by friends and family as she was wheeled into her house today. She has end-stage cystic fibrosis, and her parents fought transplant rules that banned kids from getting adult organs so she could get a double lung transplant. Sarah's parents say she's come a long way, but the transition will take time.
She's just got a lot of work, and today's been kind of overwhelming. You know, you transition from 20 people doing the care of your child to the 2 of you and a couple of nurses. It's been a transition day.
Sarah's mom says she still needs a machine to help her breathe, and she'll have to continue physical therapy.
When it comes to your kids, you try to make sure they stay healthy, but are you doing your part to prevent them from becoming obese? On the Health Beat, Dr. Ramo has some advice all parents need to hear.
Dr. Ramo, as adults who struggle with their weight, I don't know. More information, head to the Health Beat section of KOAT.com.
Health coverage continues tomorrow at 4 when Dr. Oz shares his plan to help you get a perfect night's sleep. Then at 5, Dr. Ramo explains why pot bellies are bad for your heart.
An Ohio couple married for 65 years dies just 11 hours apart. Doc and Ruth Napke met in the 3rd grade, but they didn't reconnect again until years later when Doc joined the Army and a soldier reintroduced them.
He said, I know somebody I think you might really like. I'd like you to write a letter to my sister-in-law. So he gave him her name, and my dad said, well, I remember that name.
Sadly, Doc passed away a few weeks ago, and just 11 hours later, Ruth did as well. Their children say the two just couldn't stand to be apart, even in death. Wow. It's a picture that's exploded on the internet, capturing hearts along the way.
Take a look. At first glance, Kelly and Jesse Cottle look like any happy couple, but after a closer look, you can see she's giving her husband a piggyback ride. Jesse, a former Marine, lost both of his legs when he stepped on an IED in Afghanistan, and he met his wife Kelly shortly after he got prosthetic legs. The couple recently took a trip to visit her family in Idaho when they decided to have a family portrait taken.
Someone had suggested taking some photos in the water, and so I was carrying Jesse back to get his legs, and the photographer was like, oh, we'll get a couple shots of you guys together. It wasn't planned or anything.
Wow, the photographer posted those pictures to her Facebook page, and it quickly went viral.
Look at tonight's top stories next.
And we'll take a final look at your morning forecast.
Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
3 more New Mexico counties plan on issuing same-sex marriage licenses. Today, the clerks in San Miguel, Valencia, and Taos counties made that announcement. They joined Doña Ana, Santa Fe, and Bernalillo counties. Today also marked the first day that same-sex couples could get marriage licenses in Bernalillo County, and many took part in a joint wedding at Civic Plaza.
But some state lawmakers are blasting the same-sex marriage rulings. Governor Martinez says voters should decide first, not the courts. Another Republican representative, Alonzo Baldonado, agrees. He believes lawmakers and you, the voter, should have the final say. Now here's Joe with a look at the morning forecast.
A refreshing start of the day, waking up in the 60s and then topping off in the 80s, so not overly hot in the afternoon. Most of the thunderstorms will be across the southern portion of the state. A few more will creep up throughout the area around Thursday and Friday. Showers and thunderstorms increasing to the north and west of us for the start of the holiday weekend, and those scattered storms increasing Sunday on into Labor Day itself.
All right, thanks for watching.
Jimmy Kimmel's next.
Good night.
This is KOAT Action 7 News. Honored as the 2013 Station of the Year by the New Mexico Broadcasters Association.